Slimefoot and Squee is one of my favorite brawlers for a reason. First, it gives you an extra body on the field every time it enters the battlefield or attacks. But its second ability is insane for a Reanimator themed deck, with cards like Hoarding Brawler, Trumpeting Carnosaur, and many more busted creatures. We use other cards like Goblin Bombardment, Jamot, and Puration Tower to sacrifice it and other creatures to return them to the battlefield in the future. Last but not least, we have all sorts of finishers, including Blood Artist, Grave Titan, and more. Let's dive into what this deck can do. And first match we play against Minsc and BREW, and we keep a decent hand with access to all of our mana thanks to Oliphant. We are going to be on the play and cast an Elvish Mystic on turn 1. Now, we will search for our Blood Crypt by cycling our creature, and then play our Soloable Cutthroat, in order to amass some board presence. The opponent then untaps, and now the worst that could happen is that they play a Cultivate or some sort of round spell. That can push them ahead in this game. They play a Paradise Druid, so now our plan is going to be to play our commander, and then we'll try to attack for free value with our other creature. They block, surprisingly, because now they can't play their commander if they play a land. Still, they only have access to tap land, so they will search for it, and then we'll go to our turn. Since we can't play the Ravenous Chupacabra to kill their Paradise Druid, we will just attack, and surprisingly, the opponent decided to concede. For the next match, we face Jetmir, Nexus of Revels. We're on the draw with a very solid hand because we have an Ornert and a Plague Crafter that plays very well together. So we decided to keep. The opponent plays a land, and with top deck Llanowar Elves, so we are going to play that for the turn and pass. If it comes down to playing the Plague Crafter on the next turn, we will do that. Still, since they didn't play a creature, we will just attack and play a land and the Cutthroat. They seem to be holding something on 1 white mana, given the stop. It could be either a land cycler creature or some sort of white removal. However, they now play a creature, which is excellent news for us as we'll have them sacrifice it with the Plague Crafter ability. We then attack and pass the turn. If they play their commander now, we can use the Unert to get rid of it. The opponent does that, and after losing their creature, they scooped. On match number 3 we face Xenagos, God of Revels, and we are now on the draw again. Against a creature deck, this hand is very good because we have a lot of removals. So if they play a creature like a Mana Dork, we will just kill it. Now we will untap, play a Lotus Cobra and pass the turn. The plan now is to play our Slimefoot and Squee next turn, and with the extra mana from Cobra's ability, we'll use Thoughtseize to discard one of the cards from their opponent's hand. We'll play a land and add 1 more black mana to cast Thoughtseize, and they reveal a hand with Great Henge, an Elf and an Etali. So we'll get rid of the big dino and then play our commander for the turn to create a token and then attack for 2. They untap and they decided to play Xenagos for the turn, without adding anything else to the board and pass back to us. We miss our land drop, but we have a Gilded Goose, so we'll play that instead. We will also keep Sheoldred's Edict up in case they play a big creature we may need to kill. Still, they play a Llanowar Elf, so we will use our Fatal Push to get rid of it. Post combat, they play another Mana Dork, and back on our turn, the plan is to attack with the party except for the Lotus Cobra to deal some damage for the turn. We then play our Spanning Paw and will sacrifice our Slimefoot and Squee to see what we get for 4 mana. Note that this is different than Birthing Pod, because we can't choose which creature to get. Still, Jamot is a very good hit, so we now can sacrifice a token to get rid of their only creature and draw a card in the process. Opponent gave up and we move to our next game. We are now facing Dark Nissa, and we keep a very good hand on the play. The only issue is that we can't play the Halfling this turn, so we'll have to wait until the next one to slam it on the board. They play their creature and now we can get rid of it thanks to our recently top deck removal. Next turn, any untap land enables the 4 mana Sheoldred, and since we top deck 1, we will just cast it and start applying pressure early in the game. The opponent then plays an Old Rustain, and they can add 2 mana now that thanks to the Treasure and the Shaman's ability. However, we'll just play the 5 mana Sheoldred to force them to sacrifice a creature. They choose to give out the mana, and now we can attack with the other Sheoldred to put them in a clock. On their upkeep, the opponent got rid of the 4 mana Sheoldred, preventing the extra loss of life. The plan now is to play our commander and then get back our shieldred on the following turn, but first we will attack. From there we can play the Demon's Disciple and sacrifice our commander to bring it back later alongside shieldred. Opponent then plays a weird enchantment on their creature called Journey to Eternity. What it does is that it returns an enchanted creature to the battlefield when it dies, and the enchantment is then transformed into a land that can bring back any creature to the field by paying 5 mana. Luckily, they don't have anything that they can abuse, but it's something worth keeping an eye on. Post-combat, we play an Eldritch Evolution in search for a Jamat to finish clearing the board. This way, our commander can come back to the battlefield next turn and we can put it in the graveyard again at any time.
Hello, cutie pie.
The opponent then plays a Binding of the Old Gods, and I thought the target was going to be Jamat. However, they tried to get rid of Shieldred, so we'll just sacrifice her to kill one of our opponent's creatures and draw a card in the process. They loot some of their cards in hand with the blood tokens, and now we untap to use a Slimefoot ability and return the 5 mana Shieldred to the battlefield, forcing them to sacrifice their old Rustain and clearing their side of the field. They will search for a forest with the Binding ability and they need a boardway to stay in the game. Still, they opted to play Nissa and increase their loyalty by making multiple land drops this turn. They then untap a land and proceeded to kill our commander. I could have sacrificed it to draw an extra card, but I forgot about it. Still, it does not matter much as we now can attack with everything except for the Halfling. Not that if I had chosen to transform any of my manlands, I could have won, but I was not very focused and missed the opportunity. Still, we made them sacrifice their Planeswalker, and in their turn, they were forced to gain 3 life not to die. The good news for them is that they found the board web. However, it was not enough to stay in the game, so they conceded. For the next match, we play against Vorinclex. We are on the play with a very good hand, so we keep it. We slam our land over elves, and the plan now is to play the Fallen Shaman and discard a creature to search for a cycler that can fix your mana for red. Since we couldn't cast the Ragavan, we proceed to kill the creature and play the Shaman. We now can play the Forgefire Automaton for its prototype cost. The plan now is to discard our Monkey to search for the Land Tutor, and return Ragavan to the field with our Robot's ability. Opponent ramps for the turn, and now we can proceed with our plan to search for an Oliphant that can search for a Blood Crypt. We then untap, returning our Monkey to life, and after searching for a land, we play our commander and attack with the Automaton. For next turn, I want to search for Jamat, so I won't be attacking with the other creatures. Meanwhile, they play an Oracle of Muldiah to find a land from the top. After that, I search for Jamat to kill their creature on my turn and keep narrowing their choices. I play it, sacrifice one of my creature tokens and one of my other creatures that I won't be needing anytime soon. After drawing some cards, I attack for 11 this turn and pass. They found a Kula that is threatening to kill my Jamat. And while I can't sacrifice my creature to save it, I will just rather shrink their creature a bit and let mine die, as I will return it to the battlefield on my upkeep anyway. The Automaton will reveal the Yamok, and we activate a Slimefoot ability to return a Troll of Khazad-dûm to the battlefield, along with an insert token. We also play Cavalry Revels, in case they want to attack and kill an artifact or enchantment. This will probably make them choose for enchantment and preserve our robot's integrity. I of course attack, and after killing my enchantment, I decided not to block, but in retrospect, I could have used a plant token to mitigate the damage and draw a card. Nevertheless, they play a Vorinclex, but realized they were dead and we won our last game.